Hello 12A, I hope you're well. It's very, very hot today and I don't have any air conditioning, so I'm not putting my video up because I look very, very red-faced. I hope everybody is doing well and thank you for your work so far. Today's class is going to move forward with your group podcasts. This will be the last podcast I'm going to get you to listen to for a while, so yay, I'm sure you're all very excited about that because I know it has been difficult, but as I've said before, the more that you listen to them, the better that you're going to become. So in relation to this, so you would have probably handed me in this so far, but what I wanted you to do this morning rather, once we've listened to our podcast, you'll have time to continue starting doing your research. So what your research area is and starting getting your research ready. You will be presenting. When are you going to be presenting? 10A, 12A, there you are. You're going to be presenting your podcasts next week. We'll actually start presenting your podcasts. So you're going to have a week to complete this research. But because you're at level 3, I'd be expecting a high quality of podcasts. So that's why I wanted to get you to listen to one more. And while you're in your group environment, I'm going to get you to do the normal note taking just to practice your listening skills. But at the end of the podcast, I want you in your groups to go, okay, what was good about it? What was bad about it? And how can we make our podcast interesting and successful? I know many of you are quite good with computers and editing and video and that sort of thing. So you might be able to even put some sound in there, some pauses, do some interviews, whatever you like. So I want you to think that you're doing this in a professional manner and while at the same time focusing on your English skills. So today we're going to listen to, I know that you're going to get bored of them, but stuff you should know. And we're going to be listening to whether zombies really exist. So please get your pen and paper out or have this ready on your laptop so that you can write your notes in. At the end, I would like you to send these notes through to me. So at the end of this class, I'd like you to send these notes through to me so that I can see how you're going with your listening skills. If you need to pause and play, if you're missing information, that's absolutely fine as well. But as I said, the more you listen, the better you're going to get. And I'd expect that you on your own would be listening to at least one podcast every week. Okay, so off we go with zombies. Do they really exist?
Grammarly helps you produce clear, effective writing that drives the results you want, even when you just want to express your
distancing. All kind of noise. We came over and beat them off, blasted them down.
Chief, if I were surrounded by 6 or 8 of these things, would I stand a chance with them?
Well, there's no problem. If you had a gun, shoot them in the head. That's a sure way to kill them. If you don't, get yourself a club or a torch. Beat them or burn them. They go up pretty easy.
Well, Chief McClellan, how long do you think it will take you until you get the situation under control?
Well, that's pretty hard to say. We don't know how many of them there are. We know when we find them, we can kill them.
Are they slow moving, Chief?
Yeah, they're dead. They're all messed up.
And with that, Mr. George A. Romero pretty much set the scene for all zombie movies to follow. Thanks for tuning in. This is Stuff You Should Know. I'm Josh Clark. This is Charles W. Brain-Eater Bryant.
Hey, and welcome to the podcast.
Yeah. Thanks, Chuck.
Sure.
Somebody had to say it, right?
Yes.
So how are you doing?
Try to get one of those zombies to say it.
That'd be pretty cool.
I'm still wet. It's still raining in Atlanta.
Good Lord.
I feel like we have, remember that picture of the supercell I printed out for the webcast? I feel like one of those is hovering over the perimeter of Atlanta.
You carry that picture in your wallet with you and show it to people like you're a kid. Did you know that in, I believe, Ecuador, once a year, there's a heavy storm, and after about 2 hours, the storm subsides and everybody goes out and there's fish, dead fish laying everywhere. Well, some still alive.
The rain of fishes.
The weird thing is that they aren't found in any surrounding body of water.
Crazy.
Nor are they saltwater fish.
Crazy.
They are blind
underground dwellers.
Yeah.
Zombie fish.
Yeah, let's use that as our segue.
Cool.
Chuck, let's talk zombies.
Alrighty.
let's go with the real stuff first. Did you know that there may be such a thing as a real zombie?
Yeah, I didn't know till I read this.
And where are you going to go if you want to find a real zombie? You go to the source, man. You go to the horse's mouth.
You go to Haiti.
Yes.
That was Serpent in the Rainbow, right?
Yeah. What was it, 1987?
Yeah.
Wes Craven flick?
Mid-high school for me. Very scary.
Bill Pullman?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and the weird thing is, Wes Craven's not known for making movies based on true stories, but that one was. Based on one of my heroes, the ethnobotanist and anthropologist Dr. Wade Davis.
Yeah.
Who is Harvard grad. I think he has his doctorate and 2 bachelors from Harvard.
2 more than me.
Right, yeah. And he went down to Haiti in the early 1980s for what was called the Zombie Project.
Yes, because of a certain man drew his attention, right?
Yeah.
How do you pronounce that? Clairvius Narcisse?
Yeah, that's how I pronounce it.
Yeah, he started poking his head around in 1980 in a Haitian village and said, "Hey, I died 18 years ago."
Yep, and apparently the similarity to his original self,
sure,
and the facts that he knew about his former life,
passed a battery of test questions.
Yeah, there was enough to make his friends, family, I guess the estimate's about 200 people who saw him say, that guy's a zombie.
Right. And he claimed a Bokor brought him back to life, or brought him back to the undead state.
Right, Chuck. So Clairvius shows up in 1980. The thing that makes him significant is that he had been pronounced dead by American doctors who apparently carry more weight in the field of medicine and science.
Right, it was documented.
They documented his death.
Sure.
So when he showed up in 1980, he presented a substantial case for the existence of zombies. And a guy named Dr. Lamarck Douan, who's a Haitian psychiatrist, interviewed him, started interviewing Bokor, and got his hands on some zombie powders.
Right.
And then entered Dr. Wade Davis.
Right. Now, he wasn't the guy that originally said to go get these powders, right? No, that was Nathan Klein.
Right. He wanted some of these powders to see if they could be used as anesthetics in surgery.
Yeah, which I don't get that. Why not just use anesthetic? Unless, I guess he found some like cheaper, safer maybe anesthetic.
Sure. Well, I mean, if you come up with your own anesthetic, I imagine there's some dollar amount attached to that.
That's true.
So let's talk about this. He sends Dr. Davis down to Haiti, and Dr. Davis kind of takes up where Dr. Douan left off, or maybe kind of takes over his research, and he himself interviews Bokor, which are, again, those voodoo priests, and interviews some of the zombies, some of these undead people.
Right.
That's
what they said in return.
Yeah. And he comes to find that he concludes that there is, in fact, such a thing as zombies.
Right.
They're specific to Haiti, though, as far as he can tell.
Sure.
And it's a 2-step process, Chuck.
And how to make someone a zombie?
Mm-hmm.
Well, first they have to die, I would think.
No.
Or is that a 3-step process?
No.
I thought zombies had to be dead first.
We're talking Haitian zombies. We'll get to the Hollywood zombies soon.
Okay. Well, the Bokor has to capture their soul.
What's that?
Bon Ange?
Sure.
Is that? I suppose it's French, right?
Yeah.
That's apparently the part of the soul directly connected to the individual, and once he captures that, they are a zombie.
Right. That's Haitian folklore.
Yeah, sure.
Dr. Davis, being a scientist, tried to get beyond that. He found that most educated Haitians, we should say, and those who live in the city, don't tend to believe in zombieism.
Right, even though it's part of law.
It is. There's back to 1835, right?
Yeah, Article 246 of the Haitian Penal Code basically says that you can't make someone a zombie.
Right. That you'll be charged with attempted murder, or murder if the person actually manages to get buried, even if they're not dead yet. For all intents and purposes, it's still considered murder under Haitian law.
Thank God.
So Dr. Davis gets past this belief that's mainly held by rural, uneducated, poor Haitians.
Right.
That the Bokor are capable of sorcery and can steal your soul.
What do they get out of this? That's what I could never peg. Is there some money on the back end or something?
No. No, there's precisely no money involved, and it's not for any personal gain.
Their status as a Bokor?
No. What it is there is a secret Haitian society called Bazango.
The Freemasons?
No, they're not the Freemasons, but they might as well be.
Okay.
Basically, this is the group that de facto runs the country.
Okay.
Supposedly.
Okay.
But I mean, this is documented. This is from Davis's research.
Right.
So the Bazango, there are not necessarily voodoo priests, but there are voodoo priests who are part of the Bazango.
Mm-hmm.
And zombification is only used in cases of punishment, where a member of the Bazango, say a family member, has gone against the will of his or her family or the will of the Bazango community as a whole. It's just a severe punishment.
So you would have been zombified in our How Stuff Works culture.
Over and over again. And actually, Clairvius?
Yes.
Clairvius Narcisse said that he was zombified because he, at the behest of his brothers.
Gotcha.
Because he wouldn't go along and selling the family land with them.
Right.
Another documented zombie named T-Femme, she's a woman, she said that she was zombified by by the will of her family because she refused to marry the man they wanted her to marry, and she had a baby by another man. So generally it's retaliation, it's punishment for transgressions against Bazango society or a person's family who is a member of Bazango society.
Yeah, it's got to be a little money on the back end for the old
You would think so, but Davis was adamant in his research that that's not the case, right?
Right.
So let's get to how you make somebody a zombie.
Well, you got the powder, right?
You have the powder.
The magic powder.
What Davis found was that this powder, he took, I think, 8 samples and found that 7 of them had some ingredients in common, right, Chuck?
Yeah, want me to go over those?
Yeah.
He found the pufferfish, which contains a deadly neurotoxin called tetrodotoxin.
Mm-hmm.
Found a marine toad, which also has a bunch of toxins, numerous toxins.
Yeah, you don't want to lick this.
Don't want to lick that one. A Hyla tree frog, which secretes an irritating but not deadly substance. Some human remains were in all of these. Those are the common ingredients. And then things like skin irritants. They figured like spiders and lizards ground up in there would irritate your skin.
Same with the Hyla tree frog. So basically the reason you would want to have a skin irritant is because the zombie powder is traditionally applied on the skin.
Sure, it's topical.
Right, exactly. So what happens is it's applied to the skin and it creates cracks and breaks in the skin.
Imagine you
and then
it,
it seeps in through there, right?
Gross.
And then it produces this zombified person. Basically, you start to have trouble breathing.
Don't respond to stimuli.
No, you become paralyzed. You have a glassy-eyed stare.
Right.
But you're still maintaining your normal mental state. You're still aware of what's going on. You just can't do anything. Right.
Like Serpent in the Rainbow.
Exactly.
You know you're getting buried alive and having the sheet pulled over you.
Right. That's actually what Narcisse said. He said that he remembered. And saw the doctors pulling the sheet over his head after they pronounced him dead.
I wonder if they asked him what that felt like. How was that for you?
I imagine it probably wasn't very good, right?
Yeah, creepy moment.
Right. So, so you know what's going on. You just can't do anything about it. And this struck Davis as particularly interesting because what is it, Chuck? The tetrodotoxin? Davis started researching and he found that in Japan there's this stuff called fugu.
Right.
Which is a kind of sushi delicacy that's made from the pufferfish. It's very dangerous, but it apparently tastes like a Twinkie, right?
Nice.
Yeah, a raw Twinkie.
Ooh.
But if you make the cut wrong and too much of this tetrodotoxin ends up in it, you're poisoned. And the symptoms were virtually the same as what people who were zombified reported, right?
That's awesome. Should we trust our sushi chef and order some up?
I guess. I imagine that with fugu, you get what you pay for. You don't want to cheap out with fugu.
You don't want to go dollar sushi on the fugu.
So that's step 1. You administer the zombie powder, and then the person is pronounced dead.
Yeah, you bury them.
Then you go get them.
Well, that's the revelation moment. That's what makes the Bokor look like they've done their thing.
Nice reference to our brainwashing podcast.
Thank you.
Yeah,
and I love the back door there for the Bokor. If it doesn't work, there's a little loophole where he says that If the procedure doesn't work, that divine intervention can always prevent this from happening.
Right.
So anytime it doesn't work, that's his go-to.
Or if the powder is prepared to kill too strongly.
Right.
Right. So you've got somebody. Right. Exactly. It's like, well, hey, it didn't work this time. And plus, anyway, if once you've administered the zombie powder, I guess under Haitian law, you're in for a penny, in for a pound anyway, right?
Sure.
So that's step one, right, Chuck?
Yes.
You've zombified the person. Step two is to get to their grave within about 8 hours.
Right.
And you exhume them.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do, you feed them something called a zombie cucumber.
Was that the salt?
No, you don't want to feed them salt. That restores their senses.
Right.
The zombie cucumber is a combination of sweet potato and datura.
That sounds nice.
Jimson weed, which is one of the more hallucinogenic plants available to man.
That sounds real nice.
Yeah. So when you've got somebody who's already like half paralyzed and has been buried, that's a pretty traumatic experience, right, Chuck?
I would imagine.
Yeah. So the next step is to feed them a highly hallucinogenic concoction.
Sure.
And watch them go.
Right.
So that's step two of creating a zombie. What Davis came up with was that none of this would work, Chuck, unless you were in Haiti, because all of it had this social support for belief that zombies can exist.
Yeah, the culture.
So once you've gone through this process, you're not an American thinking about, oh, I'm a zombie.
Right.
As Tracy Wilson put it in her "How Zombies Work" article that we're basing this on, she said, in another culture, if you have tetrodotoxin poisoning, you're just a toxin poisoning victim.
Right.
But in Haiti, because of this belief among some people that there is such thing as zombies, that supports the experience, and all of a sudden this person is spending X number of years as basically a zombie slave.
Right. Like snake handlers.
Sure.
Most people would think you're just a redneck that got bit by a snake, and they think that, it was all divine.
Right, yeah. That's actually very much the same. Nice one, Chuck.
I just pulled that one out of my keister.
That was great. It smells delicious.
Thanks. So a lot of people, do you want to get to where people think Davis wasn't exactly on the level?
Sure.
On all levels?
Yeah.
Because it all sounded good until the article turned a little bit and said, no, not quite.
Well, yeah, it definitely depends on where you're coming from, but there's a tremendous amount of criticism for somebody like Davis who's saying, yeah, zombies exist.
Right, because one thing he did, which you mentioned, was dig up bodies or supervise the digging up of bodies.
Well, he was there at least.
He was there. And a lot of scientists didn't like that.
No, I thought that kind of goes against the code of ethics somewhere.
Yeah, crossed a boundary, and I think I might agree with that.
Yeah.
They also questioned the initial experiments with the powder and if they were scientific enough, because he practiced these on like monkeys and rats when he got back to the States, right?
Yeah, he made zombie rats.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So they questioned the initial experiments. They didn't know, if he had added anything else to the powder. I guess he says he didn't, but they weren't there to witness that, so they questioned that.
Right.
What else? Oh yeah, this one I found odd. They found samples contained no tetrodotoxin.
Yeah, and he said that you guys are putting it in some sort of solvent to carry out these tests, so you may have destroyed it.
It's a little iffy though.
Maybe. I think one of the big points about this in Davis's defense is that his reputation academically is still very much intact years after this.
Yeah.
I mean, he published 2 books on it.
Mm-hmm.
The Serpent and the Rainbow came out, and he survived that.
Right.
I can't imagine that made him look,
yeah, that's true,
really good among his academic peers. And this guy's still, doing more and more research. He's a National Geographic Explorer in residence, which, as you know, I think is one of the coolest things ever.
Yes.
So his reputation's still intact, and he's still a respected ethnobotanist and anthropologist. Another point that people made, though, Chuck, was that a lot of these people who were supposedly zombies were chalked up to mistaken identity, cases of mental illness.
Exactly.
Kind of like Jerusalem syndrome. If you live in Jerusalem,
right,
you're going to have a much higher tendency of believing that you're, a reincarnated saint or prophet
than if you live
in Detroit. Exactly.
Right. What were you going to say?
Denver.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm glad you said Detroit, though.
Are we moving on to Denver now?
Maybe.
All right.
Yeah.
Go west, young man.
So, Chuck, that's the Haitian zombie.
The real, quote-unquote, real zombie.
We should say, as far as I could turn up, there's no one who satisfactorily debunked Clairvius Narcissus story.
Right.
And also, I should also say that at no point did Davis say that these people were dead in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, or
that
undead.
They were strictly poisoned by the specific toxin that brought them, that lowered their vital signs. They were pronounced dead, and then they were revived by Datura.
Right.
And then believed that they were zombies,
Yeah.
but that they were not dead and brought back to life.
So those are real zombies.
Let's do fake zombies.
That started, not started, but very much kick-started with George Romero's classic that we played earlier, Night of the Living Dead.
Oh, did you hear that?
Yeah.
That was our colleague Chris Paulette. Did you hear that?
Uh-huh.
Brains.
I was going to do that, but I didn't. Apparently, Jerry said Chris nails it, so.
Yeah, he does.
There you have it.
Can you tell?
Brains.
Right. That's pretty good too, Chuck. Yeah, so Romero starts the whole thing off, basically. He comes up with all the rules of the game, like we heard at the beginning of this podcast.
Right. Actually, Tracy did say that movies as early as 1919 had zombies, so save your fingers on the keyboard from typing in.
Right.
No, he wasn't the first.
Nice one,
But he definitely brought it into the mainstream. And zombie movies forever after were based on, like you said, his world and his rules.
Mm-hmm. Like, for example, he was the one that said, if you can destroy a zombie's brain or detach its brain from the rest of its body, that's it for the zombie.
Everybody knows if you want to kill a zombie, you got to cut their head off, basically.
That's Romero.
Or blow their head off with a gun.
I should tell you that our colleague and sometimes stand-in producer Matt Frederick got really excited when he found out we were doing a podcast on zombies.
Oh, really?
He thinks that a Remington pump-action shotgun is the best weapon to have against a zombie.
I would say that in one hand and a samurai sword in another would be pretty cool. You'd be doing well for yourself.
I'm more a battle axe man myself.
Although that, we're going to talk about the Canadian mathematician study?
Eventually.
Okay. We don't stand a chance if there's a real zombie attack, dude.
Well, it depends on what we do. Let's talk about that, Chuck.
Yeah, we
this
might
is the one with Robert Smith.
Oh, yeah, with a question mark name?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
The guy has a question mark at the end of his name.
Robert Smith and one of his colleagues, both mathematicians at the University of Ottawa, they used contagious disease models.
Yeah, pandemic models.
Yeah.
To study out the math of whether or not we could actually survive a zombie attack, a slow-moving zombie attack.
Yes, they specifically picked the classic slow-moving zombie. And they still found that unless humans strike fast, strike often, and strike increasingly escalatingly, we're in big trouble.
Right. So that you can't do the oh geez, we got to learn a humanitarian way to put these zombies down, like District 9. You can't do it. You got to go in hard.
Said, don't even bother trying to figure out how to cure it. You just have to kill everybody you find.
Exactly.
And that was another thing that Romero established with Night of the Living Dead, was that zombies beget zombies, right?
Yeah, sure.
In his version, what happened was a zombie was somebody who was killed by a zombie was brought back because of this radiation,
right,
from a satellite that had returned to Earth that was causing the dead to rise in the first place. So if you were killed while that radiation was still around, you were inevitably going to come back.
Yeah.
And also, did you know that George Romero got his start shooting segments for Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood?
I think I did know that.
Really?
Yeah. He also established some other rules about their strength. They're very strong.
Yeah.
But typically slow moving, although there have been movie offshoots with the fast moving zombie, of course.
It depends.
Well, if they're fast or slow.
Well, like 28 Days Later is technically not a zombie movie because no one
zombies.
Who is a zombie is actually dead.
No, they're infected by that, whatever that was, the disease.
Yeah.
The infection.
Yeah, I don't remember what it's called.
But there are some other fast-moving zombies I've seen in other movies.
Resident Evil, the game, they had some herky-jerky, fast-moving zombies, right?
Yeah.
Again, Matt Frederick thinks is the perfect zombie motion.
What, herky-jerky?
Herky-jerky, whatever is in Resident Evil, he's hip with.
Oh, okay.
Because he said that's where the pump shotgun is found.
I like the slow movers.
Yeah, they're a lot more comforting, yeah.
But it was always funny to me to watch those movies and think, you're all faster than the zombies.
Yeah,
how could you ever get caught?
Briskly.
But you get surrounded. That's what happens.
Surrounded is the big problem.
Whoa, are we going to get into that? How to avoid getting eaten by a zombie?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we should wrap up the rules first. They're not they're impervious to pain.
Yeah.
Like you can hit them in the face with a baseball bat and they'll just keep lumbering forward.
Yep.
So you really have to cut their head off. You can cut their arm off and they'll walk with one arm. They'll cut a leg off and they'll hop at you.
Oh yeah. Their arm will come at you. All Return of the Living Dead.
Yeah, or Evil Dead.
Yes.
2.
Dead by Dawn.
Dead by Dawn.
You will be dead by dawn.
And they are driven to eat, relentlessly driven to eat. They're afraid of fire and light.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll come out at night. They want to eat your brain.
That actually came later. That was
that's true.
largely Return of the Living Dead from 1985, where they actually have a zombie pinned down, and it's just this woman's torso and arms and head. And this medical examiner, doctor, says, "Why do you eat humans?" She goes, "Not humans, brains."
That's the clip you sent me today?
Let's hear Paulette do it again.
Brains.
Nice. Thank you, Paulette.
So good.
Yeah, that was that clip I sent you.
That was awesome.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, I'm going to stop you there. If you would like to listen to the rest of it, there's still another 10 minutes to go, but I didn't want to make you have the entire time just listening to the podcast. Hopefully you got some really good notes out of that. And as I said, what I want you to make sure that you do is send all this to me. I just want to see how you're going, if you've improved at all in terms of your listening skills. And also if you can talk to your group right now, what do you think made it good? If you did find it good, what made it bad if you thought made bad, and how can we make it successful? Okay, so I'll stop you there and I will see you in the next class. So in the next class, you won't actually have me speaking. So there's not going to be a video. I'm going to allow you to use the next class to work on your podcast. So actually to start doing your research. There you go. So being individually, so now that you've chosen what area of your research that you're going to do, you're now going to complete your research, put some questions that you want to research, get some answers in there, and get that sent across to me probably by the end of the week would be great. Okay, thanks very much. I think, yeah, so we're not going to do the speaking just yet, and I will see you in my next class with you. Thanks very much, guys.